Cody Gakpo! He's the talk of the town at the moment. He's one of the most exciting young players in Europe. He scored a shed load of goals and notched a bunch of assists for PSV Eindhoven, and he has a lot of Premier League clubs and clubs around Europe with their heartbeats fluttering. Leeds United were interested in him in the summer, as was Southampton, and Manchester United just keep looking at him and go, I just think he's neat. But why is he so neat? Allow me to explain. So in front of me right now, I've got PSV Eindhoven starting 11 from their 4-3 victory over Feyenoord in September. This is a really fun game in that Gakpo got a goal and a hat-trick of assists. Three of them. Before we get into things, I'm going to quickly explain to you how this PSV Eindhoven team works. They normally start off in a 4-3-3 shape, or can normally start in a 4-3-3 shape. What often happens is your fullbacks tend to push up and often invert, while the Sangeri works as a sort of drops deep to be a central pivot. So your ball progression goes through these triangles and then it moves over to Till or Vermin, and then it goes into the fullbacks. You've also noticed the fullbacks often invert, which then creates, in theory, extra space for your wingers in Gakpo. And while it's Saibari today, when he's fit, Noni Madueke comes in. So these players often in the final third do loads of business. And when PSV do lose the ball, things often revert into a 4-1-4-1 with your wingers tucking inside, keeping some solidity, and Sangeri very much being the stopper. Ideally, this team wants to win the ball very, very hard up the pitch, give it quickly to wide players like Gakpo, and then Gakpo can cut inside on the left-hand side and shoot. So in front of me right now, I've got what will become Cody Gakpo's goal against Feyenoord. The scores are 1-1. PSV have already scored from a Gakpo assist, a direct corner kick. Something we'll talk about in a little bit is how Gakpo's really good at corner kicks. This move begins in what people smarter than me term as a micro transition. So Feyenoord are attempting to build out the back. PSV players are cutting off a number of lucrative passing lanes. You can also see Gakpo closing off on the fullback here. And the main lucrative option forward is this pass here. But the problem with that is that this man over here is Ibrahim Sangeri. He wins the ball back. The ball is quickly given to the free man for PSV here, and then makes his way over to this gentleman here, who's Xavi Simons. Xavi Simons is very, very good when attacking in transition. Gets the ball over to Cody Gakpo. Gakpo takes one touch with his left foot to stabilize himself, and then he does what we now term as the editorial refinish, where you use your right foot and sort of bend it into the far corner. In a recent interview with The Times, Cody Gakpo said Thierry Henry was something of an inspiration for him because Henry, much like Gakpo, starts off on the left-hand side but eventually worms his way in to the right. It's good, it's neat, it's Gakpo. It's a player who's at peak confidence and is now working as the lead goal scoring threat and one of the primary creators of a really nice, talented young side. Gakpo would get another assist in this game later on from a direct corner, but his open play assist is one of those things that looks quite simple, but it's full of all those little tiny intricacies. Like you go, ooh, you'll do well in a Champions League club one day, won't you? So again, PSV are attacking on the transition. They've got some numbers forward. Feyenoord are fairly well covered, but you can see Gakpo is running into space out wide. The ball's delivered out wide, and Gakpo initially makes sure he shields it from the opposition fullback. The fullback thinks he's got him caught, but the great thing about Gakpo is, despite his height, the man's 6'2", he's kind of explosive. So that's a see ya, gives him a see ya, and then immediately afterwards, delivers this really fun looping cross over here, which is headed home. Big thing about Gakpo, you may have seen a number of highlight reels and compilation tapes where he's cutting inside and doing big shots from distance. But the big thing about Gakpo, and the reason why so many clubs are really interested in him, is more so than his strength, more so than his speed, more so than those long range shots, is his ball striking ability. The man can deliver a pass and a cross better than his 23 years of age would suggest. If you watched him in PSV's recent Europa League victory over Arsenal, you may remember his assist from a corner kick. He's going to be worth 2 to 3 assists per season from corner kicks because he's just so good getting that whipping excursion. If you're a Premier League watcher and you want a more obvious comparison, what I'm going to do right here is I want you to imagine Jadon Sancho. So imagine like Borussia Dortmund Jadon Sancho, where he was a tricky little half-space boy, a dynamic goal-scoring creator. I also want you to visualize peak Marcus Rashford, who is a very dynamic ball carrier who likes to cut inside and shoot. So if you've got those two Manchester United players there, Gakpo is there-ish. I want to play there-ish. So he's got that explosive turn of pace that Rashford has and can go from A to B very, very quickly. He also likes cutting inside and shooting when the opportunity is on. But a bit like Sancho, or at least Sancho in these iterations at Dortmund, and during some of his better games for United, he can be devastating in combination play when you put him next to intelligent players. You put Cody Gakpo in the half space, you put him next to a player like Xavi Simons, and they can create some very fun 1-2s. In prepping for this piece, I talked to 2 Dutch journalists, one, Mark P. Lambert, who I will drop in the comment section below, and also Lenton Gudik, who comes from Voetbal International, which is one of the leading Dutch magazines in football. One interesting thing about Gakpo at the moment is Voetbal International, after the end of every single game in Eredivisie, will attribute a post-game match rating for every single player. And if you average them out to where we are right now, Gakpo is number 1 by a decent chunk of time. The prevailing thought is 1, he's probably the best player in the Dutch league, and 2, he's approaching a state where he could be too good for the Dutch league. A number of the teams in the Dutch league, while they try to defend deep against him, cannot quite match him for pace, both in terms of raw pace with his feet and pace up top, the quickness of his mind. There are fullbacks that know what to do, how to stop him, but you can't really stop him. The next step for him will be to move him up the footballing pyramid into one of Europe's top 5 leagues. Where that will be, well, I'll talk to you about that in a bit. Before we do that, I want to talk to you about Cody Gakpo for the Netherlands. Here are the starting lineups for the Netherlands' 2-0 victory over Poland recently. I want to talk to you a couple of things about this Dutch team. Number 1, they're sneaky good. Louis van Gaal is back in charge of the Netherlands following their disappointing Euro 2020. They've played 15 games under him, and they've won 11, and they've drawn 4. They play in a, well, it's a formation, all right. Some things you might see when you watch the Netherlands is Denzel Dumfries is a very attacking right wing back. He's not that bothered by defending, which means Daley Blind becomes the balancer Dumfries' buccaneering ones. So when Dumfries pushes up, what tends to happen is players shift over and Blind sort of drops deep to make it a back 4. Also during moments of build-up when everyone is flooding forward, Blind can be really important in terms of ball progression. Other things that are interesting to this Dutch national team is Memphis Depay. Most of the Netherlands attacks will eventually have Memphis Depay have 3 or 4 touches. Now he's very much a central striker, a number 9. And while Steven Bergwijn often plays up front with him, Bergwijn often plays off him while Depay does a number of touches. And now the new challenger who's approaching is Cody Gakpo, who's operating as the number 10 in Van Gaal's newer setups. In the game against Poland, Gakpo interacts with a number of players and creates what I can only really describe as the Manchester City goal. You know, the one where they sort of pull it out wide and one player goes here, one player goes there, and then it gets pulled back and it looks like a tap-in, but it's created by loads of really, really clever off-the-ball movement. Yeah, Gakpo, really important for that. The interesting thing about Gakpo and the Dutch national team is that this ultimately could be his final position for his next club. What could his next club be? PSV are a little bit cash short at the moment. You may have just seen Rangers record the worst ever record in Champions League group stage history, but in order to get to group stages, they knocked out this PSV team. It was mildly distressing from Van Nistelrooy and his brand new start at the club, and it caused a little bit of minor havoc in their summer transfer window. We know Leeds United and Southampton Football Club made some late bids for Cody Gakpo, and also some bids for our lovely, lovely, lovely defensive star boy over here. It looked for a little bit before that window closed that PSV were going to sell at least one other player. It also looked as if Manchester United were going to go and sign Cody Gakpo until they changed their attentions to Anthony and reunited him with Erik ten Hag. So that was the summer. Recent financial reports published last month from PSV say their finances are okay-ish, but it looks as if it's going to be a case of when they sell one of these very, very talented players rather than if. So you've got 2 real scenarios for Cody Gakpo's future. One, the Netherlands have a good World Cup. It's possible. Louis van Gaal is, again, mad scientist, tactical man thing. There's a potential matchup with Argentina, I think in the quarterfinal stages of the World Cup, which will be tantalizing if it can happen. If Gakpo has a good World Cup and the Netherlands have a very good World Cup, there's a very good chance that PSV will put a very big price tag on him and he will remain at the club throughout the rest of the 22-23 season. The other scenario is if the Netherlands don't have a great World Cup, and then upon which it gets a little bit tantalizing. As it was expressed to me once before, if someone makes a £50 million bid for Cody Gakpo, PSV might blink. Anyway, that's Cody Gakpo. He's very, very interesting. He is tall, he's dynamic, he's got a fantastic ball striking ability, and I just think he's neat. But let me know what you think of him. Let me know other players you're really excited about going to the World Cup. And yeah, take care. I'm wearing a turtleneck, but I've done all this stuff, so you can call it a tactile neck. See ya.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is where the Ralph Rangnick to Manchester United story broke, where a team of journalists have provided unrivaled coverage of Newcastle United's new ownership, and where dedicated writers cover every Premier League team no matter their place in the table. And you can try it free now for 30 days.